Finding success in health and fitness is extremely difficult to do, but here's the deal. It is not impossible. For someone like myself who loves food, used to not love exercise very much, definitely doesn't like cardio, there are ways to achieve your fitness goals. Today we're going to focus on 3 steps we can utilize to achieve the dream physique that you may have. As a disclaimer, you're going to want to stick around for number 3 because that is the most important one. Step number 1, and the easiest to implement to get you off to the races to reach your fitness goals, is going to be sleep. Now, sleep is something that's very interesting. When I started my fitness goals, I was sleeping on average 5 to 6 hours a night. I was always restless. I was always hungry during the day. I didn't have the fuel in the tank necessary to train in the gym how I wanted or to focus on fueling how I wanted. The number 1 thing you can do, and the easiest thing to first implement, is going to be getting plenty of rest. If you don't sleep enough during a fat loss phase or when you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose more lean mass. If you sleep enough, you're probably going to be in a pretty sweet spot. I would recommend at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep when you start your fitness goals. It is the easiest one to implement. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to even focus on any minute details. All you have to do is just sleep a little more. And if you sleep a little more, I promise it's going to make things significantly easier in the long run. Step number 2 on this list is going to be movement. If you are someone who lives a sedentary lifestyle just like I did, here's what you're going to do. You're going to start from where you are now. For me, that was starting with multiple orders of Chick-fil-A in a day. I would go from working on my desk to playing video games and not really actively moving the body. One of the hardest things to do is to go from 0 to 100. You want to go for being able to run a mile, a marathon, run sprints, go to the gym daily, but you're not quite in that position yet. The easiest thing to start with is just doing better than you're currently doing. If you are someone who is very sedentary currently, let's say not moving more than 5,000 steps a day, start with just a general step goal. Start to pick your way up from there. What I did was start from 5,000 steps up to 7, up to 8, up to 10. Now, step counting is not something that's necessary, but it's something that I utilize just to make sure I'm moving enough in the day. To build off of that, now we have you moving, we have some activity in the day, and we want to start making our way to actually getting into a gym. Now, this can be a very daunting thing. It can be terrifying, and I completely get that. What you're going to want to do, start with a simple program. If you don't weight train currently, shoot for 1 day a week. Just get in the gym, start to move your body, start to experiment with the environment. I understand there's going to be some meatheads here and there. I understand there's going to be people that you may think are looking at you here and there, but I promise, as you start going to the gym, the person that's the most worried about it is actually you. Now, if you're going to make a transformation like this, what I would recommend, and this is something that I did, was utilize a hypertrophy block. A hypertrophy block would just be a training environment to build lean tissue. So for me, I started with 3 days a week initially, just to kind of get moving, get some gas in the tank. But for you, that could be anything between 1 to 4 days a week. For the initial time frame, I would recommend working on form and technique just to ensure that you're doing things properly and you don't have a high risk of injury. Remember, if you can't do it for a long time, you're not going to get to the goal that you have, especially if it's a 9, 12, 18-month goal. When I first started getting back in the gym, it was a very daunting thing because I had gone from someone who was very athletic, who was around 170 pounds, probably anywhere between 10 to 15% body fat. I lived a fairly healthy lifestyle. As COVID hit and I started working from home, I graduated college, the pounds started creeping up. And as the pounds started creeping up, I continued to let that be the case because the gym was something that was daunting for me. If you don't have an understanding of how to train in the future, we will be working on form and technique and execution in the long term. The more you understand about your training environment, the more comfortable you'll be moving forward. So something that I did was I started focusing on understanding and utilizing pages like mine or individuals like JPG who understand weight training in a way that allows you to hit the goals you have and not do anything that's too redundant or that is too much. To wrap things up with movement, just make sure you're doing more than you're currently doing. So if that means going on a walk every day, or if that means getting on a treadmill or going to the gym, just do something that continues to improve on what you're currently at. The easiest thing that I did during my fat loss journey was I went from doing absolutely nothing to just doing a little bit every day that promoted the environment that I was looking for. Now that brings us to the most important factor when it comes to fat loss. When you're on your fitness journey, fat loss is a very daunting task because 1, you have to start moving your body more. 2, you got to make sure you're sleeping well. But number 3, and the biggest one, is you have to change your nutritional habits. At some point, I saw something online that really kind of clicked for me and got me pushing the right direction. And it was around the idea that you have to kill the version of yourself that you were before. I can't remember who exactly said it, but it was a great quote that helped me understand that when it comes to health and fitness and improving your physique, you can't do the same things that you're currently doing. You have to essentially take that version of yourself, chop it down, move it out of the way, and start progressing by introducing habits that are going to be beneficial for the new outcomes that you're looking for. So when we're talking nutrition, again, back to that same idea, start simple. You don't have to rush into things. This is something that always happens with individuals individuals. They go too quick, too fast, and they lose steam. I want this to be something like, if we're to relate it to cars, something like almost like a Prius, let's say. You're a Prius. All I want you to do is coast. I want you to keep the tank full. I want you to be able to get really far during your fitness journey. And to do so, you're gonna have to make sure it's something you can do consistently over the course of the next 9, 12, 18 months for a long time. And in addition, to maintain those results, you're probably gonna have to keep doing something to a degree to promote that same environment. So when it comes to nutrition, what I want you to do is learn and build an understanding of what your total calorie goals are and what your macronutrient needs are. The easiest ones to start with are going to be total calories and total protein. Now here's the catch. You still should enjoy the foods that you love. If you like having Chick-fil-A from time to time or chicken tenders from time to time, it doesn't have to be something that you need to completely take away. The difficulty with taking those things away is that inevitably you will go back to those items and probably in excess in comparison to what you currently do. So if you like chicken tenders or if you like fast food or whatever it is, it's not necessarily wrong. It's just something that we need to portion out well to fit within the goals that you have. I'm gonna give you an easy breakdown here. What I want you to do is take your body weight, times it by anywhere from 12 to 15. This is as simple as it gets. After you've calculated out what that number is, that is going to be your relative maintenance calories. But here's the catch, it's not perfect. After you've calculated out the 12 to 15 times your body weight, what I want you to do is track for the next couple of weeks. When I started my fitness journey, it was the easiest way to find my maintenance calories. Start by, for instance, myself at that point in time, I took the 240 pounds that I weighed, I times it by 12, finding a pretty high maintenance calorie space for me. But with that being, what actually is that? So when I started, I took my current body weight and times it by 12. Now that gave me a pretty high number. What I did over the course of the next couple of weeks is I tracked at that rate. 2,880 calories is what that comes out to. I found that that was a little bit high for my calorie needs. I started to see the weight creep up slowly over the course of time. What I want you to do from there, go ahead and reduce it by somewhere in the range of 500 to 800 calories. Calories are going to be the biggest factor in our fat loss goals. If you are on a fitness journey in 2025, I need you to understand that calories in versus calories out is a very real concept. There is a lot of nuance to it, but let's just start there. If your total maintenance calories is 2,550, go ahead and reduce it by 500 to 800 and work from there. Over the next couple of weeks, what I want you to do is start taking weigh-ins daily. Take the average of those weigh-ins, see if you're trending in a positive or negative way. In this case, we want to be losing anywhere between 3/4 pound to 2 pounds in a given week. Now, 2 pounds is an extreme. That is the very high end, and I don't necessarily want you to start there. I want you to start something that's very moderate that allows you to be satiated. Speaking of satiation, let's go into the first focus that I want you to take. When it comes to macronutrients, you're looking at proteins, carbs, and fats. In 2025, everybody's got to know that. Protein, carb, fat. Got it? Now that you have these ideas in play, proteins, carbs, fats, proteins being something that has a face and a family. Yeah. It has a face and family. Fats being things like avocados, nuts, oils, and carbs being things like rice, pasta, tortillas. With the base understanding of what those are, we're gonna focus on protein as a macronutrient first. Protein is extremely satiating and most people don't get enough protein. I, for one, was getting less than 50 grams of protein a day. Majority of people that I know are getting less than 50 grams of protein a day. I wanna creep that number up as high as possible to one, keep you satiated, but two, to ensure that we are building as much lean mass as possible. For your protein intake goals, what I want you to do is take your current body weight or your goal body weight if you are a little bit heavier, like I was when I started my fitness journey, and go ahead and times that by 0.8 up to 1.2. Anywhere in that range is adequate for protein. What you're gonna quickly realize is it's a lot of protein. So if you are somebody who is eating a lot of hyper palatable, high calorie foods, and you switch to this more high protein diet, what you're gonna find is you're gonna be really satiated every day. If you wanna accomplish your health and fitness goals in 2025, you need to have a high protein diet. It's gonna keep you satiated. In addition, it's gonna allow you to extend that deficit period. For me, that ended up allowing me to maintain the deficit for long enough to be satiated during most of my cut. The biggest thing to know is nutrition is key. It is going to be the end all be all on if you hit your goal or not in 2025. If you are over consuming food, regardless of if it is whole non-processed foods or if it is hyper palatable, delicious foods, you will gain weight. The remainder of the macronutrients are also important, but outside of that factor of protein, what I want you to look at is the quality of nutrition you're consuming. With your food, I personally had majority whole foods. 90% of my diet was made up of non-processed foods that were satiating, that were high in fiber and high in nutrients. This allowed me to continue the pace that I was. Again, make sure you keep the things you enjoy in your life. You like hot Cheetos, have some hot Cheetos. If you like a burger here and there, it's okay to have a burger here and there. Just fit it within the range of your current calorie intake. If I woke up tomorrow and I was trying to achieve my dream physique in 2025, these are the steps that I would take. 1, I would focus on plenty of rest. 2, I would make sure that I'm moving more than I was before. And number 3, nutrition is going to be the main key in seeing success with your fitness goals. The biggest takeaway I want you to have is if I can do it, you can 100% hit the same goal. I promise. Just make sure you start slow, pace things out. It's gonna take some time. Get really, really good at doing really, really boring things day in and day out. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and tune in for more next week.